Hey guys, we're talking about the new four executive orders done by Donald John Trump today in the new show. This is really important. Why? Because, well, this is about $1 trillion in spending, so this is pretty crazy, you know. Trump orders 400 per week unemployment payments amid COVID crisis, hits Dems for stonewalling. This is the Fox headline of what he did in this presser over here, and clearly it was a big deal, and he was planning for this whole time. And when we look at the principles of this, keep in mind we're talking about an exploding debt. We have his approval ratings at a competitive pace. He's still losing the election, of course, numbers-wise, but the polls are gay. But this is what it says. The Dow is on the up and up, of course, so that's good. But we have to look into what is new. Now, for an incumbent president, it is popular to cut taxes and to increase spending. That's really popular, okay? So he's going to extend a 400 per week supplemental unemployment payment to out-of-work Americans. So that'll make Joe Biden be like, oh, you didn't pay unemployment to them, but now he can't say that, so that's good. He extended student loan relief, so that'll help him stop losing college-educated support, I suppose. And also, he issued a payroll tax holiday for the end of the year for people making less than $100,000 a year. So, and he's promising more relief if he wins a second term, which is insane. So he's basically doing all these cuts, not being aware of the debt. Nobody's even mentioned the debt, in politics, because they're all screwed. And they're all bankrupting us in the future. But for now, let's win this election is basically what Trump is saying, what Stepien is saying. So here's him signing this executive order. But in particular, it's going to help a lot of Americans, okay? And House Speaker Pelosi and Chuck Schumer knew he was going to do this, and they dismissed his meager actions and slammed the president for signing it in his luxury club, which is like so gay. How pedantic. Who cares where he signs it? It could be in the back of a gas station where he signs the executive order. That's up to him. Okay? Now, this is a really big deal because when we look at history, we see that DACA was signed by President Obama, but the problem with President Obama doing this was that it was unconstitutional, and it was a divided Supreme Court that had to rule on this. And the notoriously moderate, squishy, not America first, not a true conservative, Justice Roberts, who of course was suggested to be picked by George W. Bush in 2005 by Solicitor General of Texas at the time, Ted Cruz. Okay, so Ted Cruz was responsible for the picking of the recruitment of John Roberts. So this is what it is. Roberts supported DACA, and he allowed Obamacare to survive. So DACA is a big deal. This basically approved 400,000 people in California, 200,000 in Texas, 100,000 in New York, 80,000 in Illinois, 74,000 in Florida, and 51,000 in Arizona. You'd be surprised by how little illegal immigrants are in Arizona compared to California, but look, the facts still stand that DACA basically legalized approximately 800,000 illegal immigrants who were kids, so it's not their fault maybe, but this is a big deal. And he made all these little guidelines, and of course Mexicans were the premier beneficiaries, and Obama signed this in November 2014, but I remember he did something about immigration in 2012 just to win the election. So here we go. Obama, trying to go for a second term, did an executive order which was unconstitutional to win his election. Okay? Now, what is Donald Trump doing? He is signing a massive executive order after his stimulus talks broke down. So if we see what Donald Trump is doing, he's doing an unconstitutional major executive order to basically win a re-election, whereas Obama did DACA to win re-election to get the Hispanic vote out, and he was enabled by Roberts. Will Trump let Roberts do that? I mean, will Roberts let Donald Trump do this? I really doubt it. Maybe. So we're going to look at what happens here. And clearly this DACA thing wasn't good, and I think this was a mediocre attempt, and it set a precedent. Now that Donald Trump tried to repeal DACA, and John Roberts basically said that it is constitutional, now he's saying I can do a health care plan, I can do an immigration plan, and I can do an executive order on stimulus. because John Roberts said that you could do DACA and Obamacare. Now, this is insane. And sure, this is a good thing that he did for the American people, and he will win re-election maybe because of this. But I really do think as well that we're completely disregarding the debt that we're having, and we're also disregarding the fact that this is just a move by a politician to win re-election in a desperate attempt. And it's clear that he's kind of being disingenuous in the extent to which he is spending things where he normally wouldn't. So that's too bad. And I think this is a real problem. And when you look at the NAACP, Trump tried to get rid of DACA like 3 different times. It didn't work. So maybe you won't be able to repeal this executive order. But now that this happened, I believe that Donald Trump is opening the door for it. Like if Joe Biden were to win, he could do an executive order, if he's not that demented at that point, to, let's say, legalize everybody and give them citizenship, or make an executive order where he's going to say, we're going to fund transgender education in all states, or we're going to give $1 trillion to this country. You can do whatever you want. If he can make a stimulus on his own, then what the hell can the Democrats do then in 10 years from now? It's going to be insane. And I don't think it's worth it, actually. And I disapprove of this. I think he should have compromised with the Congress. And I get that it's $3 trillion, and in the short term, it wouldn't have helped. But at the same time, this is going to be the end of us, guys. I don't see a really good ending in this. And clearly, I think Trump is fighting for his life. The polls are really close, in my opinion. If you weight them, it's going to be a close election, I believe. But at the same time, I think that it's incumbent upon Donald Trump to be a little more fiscally responsible with his actions, and to necessarily not be too courteous to these people. When you look at the amount of hate he's getting on Twitter, it's clear that he is not appreciated for these actions by the far left. So in reality, he's only really playing for the moderates. And when you look at his approval rating, so far it's not up, because of course it hasn't been long enough. But at the same time, I think that this won't change the election too much, which is the important thing. And the Democrats on the left are slamming him for not doing enough, and for, he's going to bankrupt Social Security and Medicare. Well, that's ridiculous, because if the economy falters completely and we go into a depression, we're not funding Social Security. But if we're going to not pay it for like 6 months and then restore the economy to where it was, then we can start paying it again. So clearly that's ridiculous. And then when you look at the amount of debt we're going in, I don't know. The thing is, Joe Biden can't attack Donald Trump on the debt. Why? Because Joe Biden wants to spend more money. So he can't honestly do that. So when we look at the debt from 2012, what was Obama dealing with? Instead of 26 trillion, we were at 15 trillion in debt. Obama doubled the debt, worse than Trump did, and this is even counting the epidemic. That's just a fact. And of course, they spent their merry way out of a recession, so what the hell are they complaining for? But this is how disingenuous things are. And when we look at the polls support the president, and I think this seems a little desperate. I'm very torn on this issue. I'm okay with him doing this as an isolated event, but I also think that we're setting a dangerous precedent, and I don't think that it's worth it. Because if we're going to let whoever's going to be the president in 10 years, let's say it's Gavin Newsom, are we going to let Newsom just do executive amnesties nonstop? Are we going to let him do a retroactive act to pardon like all non-violent criminals? Are we going to let him legalize all drugs federally through executive order? That's ridiculous. And yet, this is what's going on, and I think it's going to happen in the future. And our Constitution is going to be completely burnt to the ground, okay? But if you want me to lighten up your day, I suppose I can leave you with the fact that Trump is winning Texas bigly. Trafalgar, in a really bad time for Trump in the polls, still has him winning by 6. And remember, Trafalgar got 2016 right, and that's because they have really big sample sizes usually. And so that has Trump winning bigly. He's going to win by more than that. And when you look at these polls saying Biden's going to win Michigan by 11, they're retarded. Not even Obama won it by 11 in 2012. So clearly they're wrong, and this is all bogus, by the way. So don't believe the polls. The polls are fake. do RedEagle.com. He knows what he's talking about. Don't listen to the Democrats. They don't know what they're talking about. And just listen to the Republicans are not always in the right. The Republicans slammed Obama for spending $200 billion too much, and then Trump spends $1 trillion and they don't bat an eye. So clearly there's hypocrisy on both sides. But also the libertarians are retards. So I'm gonna leave you with that. Okay, so that's the news. 4 executive orders. What do you guys think? Thank you for watching. Bye.